Hey everyone, Dr. Karen Hills Pruden here, of course, the founder of Sister Leaders. And when I pop up here, you see the red background, then I have company. So today you don't see my red background because it wouldn't let me be great, but our wonderful guest has her red background, and so it is all about Kim Jones. Kim, welcome to the Sister Leaders Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, look, this is where I get all up in your business. I got questions. We got questions. We want to know how wonderful you are. But just to get us started, just give a little bit of your background and who you are and what you do and who are your ideal customers.
Okay, so my name is Kim Jones. As you know, I'm a career development strategist. I help career and business women reposition their expertise into workforce ready leadership, visible authority, and help them, get career opportunities that they wouldn't normally have.
Okay, great. So let's just get into our questions here because you have had a long career. So my first question: if you spent about um 2 decades and a half, 25 years helping overlooked professionals become pursued leaders, so what first made you even passionate about this type of work?
So I would have to say, I started off many moons ago in banking. I started off in the training space. And just a fun fact about me, I was a pageant kid. So I won like this huge pageant when I was 8 years old. And because I won that pageant, I was on stages giving speeches to different, like I met people like Beverly Johnson and different adult pageants. So here I am, this 8 year old giving speeches on adult stages. And I that is where my love of speaking came in. I started off in the banking field and doing customer experience, and then I just moved into different parts of training, and now I'm in the workforce development field.
I love that. And I actually know who Beverly Johnson is.
Hmm.
So, I'm pretty cool because when you are interviewing and working with different generations, sometimes they'll say a name and they'll be like, oh, I don't know who that is, but let me look, let me Google real quick. So, a lot of times with our guests, there's a defining moment that caused them to pursue something or look into something or just have a love or something. And so, was there a defining moment in your career when you realized that talent alone doesn't guarantee visibility?
Oh, yes, definitely. A lot of times what happens is people do have the talent, but they're overlooked because they're not visible or they're not valuable. So I would have to say a defining moment for me would be teaching people or training people that come to my job today and they've been in the workforce for years and they're making six figures. And now, because maybe they're Gen X, they lose that position. And now it's hard for them to translate what they've been doing all these years into today's language. So I would have to say that would be a defining moment for me to say, wait a minute, wait a minute. These women, and I deal a lot with men and women, but I'm just gonna say women because they're more emotional, that those are our emotional beings.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to translate what they've done into today's language. And that would have to be a defining moment to say, wait a minute, we need help out here today.
I like that. So, since you've worked across workforce development and banking, corporate banking, tell me a little bit about how did those two worlds kind of shape your leadership philosophy?
So in the banking field, I've dealt with a lot of representatives that came into the bank. They were hired, so they had to learn like the product part of the banking because they were then filtered into the call center. It wasn't like they were going into the branch. These were like call center representatives. And then going into the workforce development piece of it, these are people that are now trying to, either go back into the workforce or go into the workforce, whether they're adults, whether they're dislocated. So it just kind of like shaped me because it's a defining moment when now you're taking all of these moving pieces and you're trying to put them together now. The one thing I say, Dr. Karen, is I used to always call myself a speaker. I'm not a speaker, I'm a trainer. I love
Okay.
to train people, not just speak. So it's all about training. So, yes, that is, I love training. That's a defining moment for me. And that's just kind of how I put, everything together in this training space, whether it was through banking and now the workforce development.
I like that. So let's talk about frontline employees versus senior executives. And so, what did frontline employees teach you that senior executives often overlook?
Senior executives, they overlook the fact that they base everything off of history, off of loyalty. Now, when you're talking about going into the workforce, you're talking about years ago, it was about 30 years experience. We don't need 30 years experience anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Frontline, these are people that are on the front line. These are the first people that everyone sees. So they have to, sell whatever it is. So they're basically the product. Frontline is basically the product. It's all about customer experience, customer intelligence, emotional intelligence. You know, I love frontline because it's a different type of touch than executive. Executives already come in, they have this air about themselves, and it's a good air. I'm not saying anything, it's a good air. They have this air about themselves. I've been in the workforce for 25, 30 years, where you're talking about a lot of people that are in the front line. This may be their first job.
Mm-hmm.
They're just coming into, so they have to be taught customer experience. They have to be taught customer relationship, customer experience. So it's a bit of a difference because senior executives have been, in the ranking for a long period of time.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm someone who moved from the front line to senior leadership. And so you definitely have to be taught. You learn from trial and error, you learn from people mentoring you, you learn from your mistakes. But definitely it is definitely an education as you move along in that position, just as you described it. So let's talk about your move into entrepreneurship. So, what inspired you to launch Kim Jones Consulting and step fully into entrepreneurship?
I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I started off in network marketing. For years, I've been in network marketing, and that just kind of started my love for entrepreneurship. Kim Jones speaking, Kim Jones Consulting, that's all under one umbrella. Um, I co-host a women's conference, the Lift Conference, back in 2016. 16 women in the room. That was it. This was in June of 2016. That went so well that the women kept saying, listen, we need to do that again. So October 2016, we got 80 women in the room. We did
Wow.
it the following year, we got 180 in the room. From there, it went all the way up to 2019, and then COVID hit. So we had to stop. But I still wanted to continue on with doing something in the entrepreneurial space, whether it's, being an author or, just speaking on my own, doing things like that. I don't want to give that up, but I just love the fact of, yes, I still work a 9 to 5, but that entrepreneurial side of me, I still have to have that.
I love it. And I can tell because I look at the smile that you have on your face as you speak about that. So let's move into talking about the overlooked professional. Let's talk a little bit about that individual. And so you often talk about overlooked professionals, and how does someone know that they're being overlooked versus simply being impatient in terms of waiting their chance?
So being overlooked, that's a big thing because people think because they're visible, they should be in the forefront. Just because you're visible doesn't mean you're valuable, right? A lot of people are picked not because they are talented or they're qualified, they're picked because they're positioned correctly.
Yep.
So it's all about the positioning. It's really, experience used to open doors. Experience doesn't open doors anymore. Impact, outcomes, results. That's what open doors today. So we have to understand, when people are out there looking or, trying to be visible, yes, you can create a lot of content out there. You can post, you can have a lot of followers, but if you're not positioned correctly, you're not converting.
Yep, absolutely. And so that leads into the next question. Why do you believe so many women, is that the reason why so many women stay invisible even though they have impressive credentials?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So let me just say this. I could be interviewing someone, right? I could be interviewing Mary, and Mary has all the qualifications that I'm looking for. And then I can interview Jen. Jen has none of the qualifications that I'm looking for, but Jen positions herself better. Jen sells herself better. She gives me better skills. She communicates better. I'm going to hire Jen, right? Only because she knew how to communicate, articulate, position herself. I'm not going to know until she actually comes in that she doesn't have it, but the way she presented herself, the way she positioned herself, that's what it's all about. She gave me the results. She gave me the impact. She gave me the, she didn't sell her title. She sold her impact to me.
I love that. So let's talk about common mistakes because we all make them and we've made them. If you have any type of career that's got any substantial amount of time. So, what are the most common mistakes that high performing women make when trying to get promoted?
So one thing they do, they're out there, they don't have the right headline on their LinkedIn. Their LinkedIn is not set up correctly. That's number one. They're posting a lot of content, right? But they don't have any conversion strategy, so to speak. So nothing is really converting. Where people get stuck, they're literally talking about what they do daily, what they offer, what they post, instead of what they produce, what they fix, what they generate. So they're
Yep.
not speaking the right language. So this is where they're messing up. Whether they've been in the workforce 15, 20, 25 years, they're still not giving the impact that they should be given in today's language, 2026.
I love that. There used to be a time when I met someone and I would ask them, what problem do you solve? Just let's just get right to it. What problem do you solve? And if you can't tell me what problem you solve, there lies the issue. Because how am I going to know that I'm your ideal client, that I should be seeking you out if you can't tell me what problem you solve? So,
Right.
absolutely. So, have you seen women unintentionally even sabotage their own, let's say, executive visibility or visibility in general in the workplace?
Yes, because they don't have the confidence that they need to step up. They're not secure in themselves to really sell themselves. I speak to a lot of women today and I say, give me some of your skills. They don't even know how to communicate their skills. Although they know their skills, they don't know how to articulate their skills. So that's a form of sabotage because they are literally stuck in their old way of doing things. And I say to them, give me three of your skills. They give me character traits. What? No, 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 no. Let's reverse that. Stop giving me your character. I'm honest, I'm trustworthy, I'm reliable. No, give me your skill set. And because they don't have that confidence, they literally don't even know how to sell themselves. So that's a form of sabotage.
Wow. Absolutely. So let's talk about self perception then. Maybe that's an issue. So, what role does self perception play in whether others perceive you as leadership material?
So self-perception, let's see how women today see themselves. They don't see themselves in the right type of role. And yeah, I think we've all been there, right? We've all, didn't have the confidence that we really needed to step into a leadership role, right? We may know how to manage, but not lead. Management and leadership is completely different. A manager is going to tell you, Dr. Cameron, go clean the bathroom. A leader is going to tell you, listen, we have some executives coming over. Can you just peek in the bathroom and see if everything is okay? But, that perception that we have of ourselves is that we can't lead, and we can lead. We have to, turn that around.
Believe that you
Believe
can
in
do it.
ourselves, right?
Yes, that's right. That's right. Absolutely. So let's talk about your STAR method. So you created the STAR method. Can you break it down for us? And what does STAR stand for?
So STAR stands for see, tune, align, and reinforce, right? So the C, SEE,
Mm-hmm.
the C is see where you are today. See where your gap is, see where you're not visible. That's number one. And then to go in and to tune is really to upgrade what you're doing, translate your old language for your new language. So now we need to go in and we need to figure out, instead of you saying, I help, you need to change that to I lead, I drive, I improve. So we have to change that language. We have to tune that language. And then align is getting in the right doors. What decision makers? Because a lot of times we're busy, but we're in the wrong spaces. We're not in the space where the decision makers are. So now we need to align what rooms we need to be seen in. And then we're going to reinforce. We're going to consistently show up. We're going to consistently post. We're going to consistently be visible and do the right thing. So that is my see, tune, align, reinforce. And I kind of go through that with women and see where they are, and then just kind of fine tune, help them, be visible and reinforce what they know.
To help them devise a blueprint, a
But
plan, or something to get to work. I
exactly.
love that. So, what part of STAR do most women struggle with the most, would you say?
See.
See? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
See.
And so, let me see. I have here get seen, send the right signal, align with the right rooms, reinforce positioning. That's powerful. Which of those is the true game changer?
I would have to say align, getting
And,
in the
and
right
and tell
rooms.
me a little bit more why align.
Because you could be in a room and it's not your ideal audience. It's not where the decision makers are. It's not where the buyers are. It's not where the recruiters are. It's not where the leaders are. And if you're in the wrong room, you're not going to convert. Nothing is, there's going to be no strategy that's going to help you convert to what you need to do, make the money that you need to, and then actually be seen from those people.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be in the room where the decision makers are. I want to be in the room with the ones that's going to be cutting the check for me.
Yep. Amen. So, how can someone know if they're sending the wrong signals when they're in those rooms?
Not being able to articulate who they are, showing up as their title. If I say to you, what do you do? Oh, I'm a doctor, right? Or I'm a customer service representative. You're not giving me anything. That's who you are. That's your title. But what's your impact? Like you said before, what problem do you solve? If I'm going to pay you, how are you going to add value? What's your positioning? So I need to hear that.
I love that. So, what does reinforcing your positioning until being chosen becomes inevitable actually look like in practice? I must have gotten that because I had that in quotation marks. I got that out of your stuff somewhere. So let me say that again. What does, and I have quotation marks, reinforcing your positioning until being chosen becomes inevitable, quotation mark, actually look like in practice?
Okay. So one of the things is they have to be not only consistent, but they have to show consistent proof. And their consistent proof is going to be their conversion. So once they learn how to consistently show up, it's going to show their authority, their message. So whether they have a signature message, maybe they have a framework, maybe they're going in and they say, because most people think positioning is about being seen, and it's not really just about being seen, it's about being selected.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be selected. Yes, okay, I see you, Kim Jones, I see you out there, but there are 30 other women in the room. Why should I pick you?
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just in the room again,
Right.
and it's not benefiting you whatsoever if you're not selected. I totally
Exactly.
agree. I never thought about it until you said that.
Mhm.
So let's talk about our transformation. Think back. Can you share a real transformation story of someone who used your method, the STAR method, and changed the trajectory of their career?
So I deal with a lot of people that come in that are dislocated, people that worked in the workforce. Now they've either been laid off or they've either been terminated from a position. So one that really sticks out to me, I had a young lady that came in. She took my LinkedIn class. Now I know LinkedIn, I'm good with LinkedIn, so I do kind of teach a class. I'm not the expert in LinkedIn, but I do know how to tell people how to become SEO optimized on LinkedIn so that now they're visible. A lot of times when people come in, they just say, I have a LinkedIn account. Okay. But now we need to SEO optimize that LinkedIn so that it will work for you, so that recruiters will now come in and they will see you, they will engage with you. She came in, she took my class, and I told her how to do it. I gave her just a couple of tips. She came back 2 days later. I believe it was 2 or 3 days later, she came back and she said, you know what? After I went in and changed everything you told me, 5 recruiters hit me up. And I
Oh,
was like,
good,
you better
good for
go, girl.
her. Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right, so I have a subline here says leadership, influence, and executive presence. So I guess that's what we're going to talk about now.
Mhm.
So, what separates a high performer from someone who is perceived as executive ready?
Literally, their positioning, how they are showing up. Dr. Karen, I'm telling you, it's all about showing up. Someone can literally be constantly creating content with no conversion, no strategy. Someone can be showing up with that conversion, with that strategy. They may have a funnel, a website, their logo, and this person, they're showing up, but they don't have that strategy. So nothing is literally happening for them. One person is they're on learning overload. So they're constantly, signing up for webinars, taking courses, things of that nature. And then you have the other person that says, you know what? I don't need another degree. I don't need another course. I just need to execute and implement.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes the difference. Someone that's literally out there implementing and executing, and the other person that's not doing it, but they're trying to show up and be visible.
Now, just by being with you this little bit of time, I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to answer it anyway. Can someone be highly competent but professionally invisible? And if so, why?
Yes, they
I
definitely
thought
can.
you were going to say yes, and then tell me why.
Because they show up as being busy, and busy is just they're just disguised as just doing something, right? There's no real strategy. So yes, they're posting, they're showing up, they're getting the interview, they're doing their resume, but really they're just being busy, which is a disguise for the strategy that they should be having. They don't have that actual strategy.
I like that. And so, my next question is, what are decision makers silently evaluating before they choose someone for leadership?
I would have to say they're silently evaluating who you are, number one. Um, there are three gatekeepers when you are now trying to get into an executive role, right? There are three gatekeepers. The first gatekeeper is the application, right? The second gatekeeper is once they get your resume, now they have to start parsing things out of the resume. And then the third gatekeeper, obviously, we all know in 2026 is the actual, scanning system that they have to do. Now
Mm-hmm.
it's sitting on someone's desk. Your resume, your cover letter is sitting on someone's desk. What makes you different? Because I always ask this question in my classes. How many of you have communication skills on your resume? Everyone raise their hand. How many of you have team player on your resume? Everyone raise their hand. How many of you have organizational skills? Because those are traditional skills that we've always put. But what makes you different than anyone else? Because if I'm looking at 50 resumes and you all have that, what makes you different? So now we have to try to go in and recognize what makes everyone different, because now I have 50 resumes sitting on someone's desk. What's the difference? Because everyone looks exactly the same. So
Mm-hmm.
now it's my job to make you look different than the other 99 people that's going to be submitting resumes and cover letters.
And I think I through my coming up through the ranks or whatever, one of my coaches, helped me to articulate she called it USP, your unique selling proposition, what makes you different from someone with similar education, similar experience, similar titles, similar roles, similar history. And for me, which I downplayed it until she helped me bring it in the forefront. Mine was my ability to be able to create verifiable metrics in non-sales generating departments. She was like, that's a game changer, because everyone who doesn't do sales want to know how to do that. How do you articulate your value at the table? But no one had ever put it to me like that. Like, what makes you different? Which is
Right.
exactly what you're saying. And that is what you almost need to lead with in this society now, where everyone looks very similar. And you all have passed those periodic checks to get on the desk. So now, how do you get to the interview? You're
Right.
on the desk. Now, how do you get to the interview? So I love that. So, what signals cause leaders to say she's ready or he's ready?
I would have to say, well, we got it. We're in the door,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now we're selling ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one question I always ask people, if I were to hire you today, how would you add value? If I'm going to pay you, what are you going to give me that's going to say to me, okay, Dr. Karen, I'm going to pay you 120,000 a year because this is what you're bringing to me. So now we're in the door. Now this is where we're selling ourselves to that person. This is
Mm-hmm.
where we shine.
The communication skills.
Right.
Yeah. So why do so many women wait to be noticed instead of strategically positioning themselves so that they can get to the interview phase?
They don't know how to do it.
Okay.
Point
That's
blank.
that's a simple answer.
They don't know how to do it.
They need a Kim in their life.
Right.
So what's the difference between being visible and being valuable? Or is there a difference?
Yes, it's a big difference. Visible is you're just out there posting all day, right? I can go on LinkedIn, I can go on Facebook, I can go on TikTok, and I can post all day. But what am I posting about, right? I need to pick the lane that I'm going to be in to show that I'm valuable. The valuable is the impact that I'm going to be showing you. I'm showing up just selling my title. I'm a customer service rep. I'm just throwing that out there, right? But I'm not telling people, what I do, how I'm, engaging with my customers. What's the impact? That old question, tell me about a time when,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about a time when you had to deal with an irate customer. What was the outcome? What happened at the end of it? I have to answer that question step by step by step. And I have to be very specific when I'm answering that question. So when you're saying that, it's like, yes, this is it. How am I going to add value if you're going to pay me? And this is what people have to realize. They don't know how to really sell themselves. And that one question, that's the question that they're really asking in the beginning. Tell me about yourself. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I used to teach this and I used to say, oh, well, that question means, present, past, future. Tell me what you're doing now, what you did, and now what you're looking to do. No, it means how would you add value if I were to hire you today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about advocacy. How can women advocate for themselves without being labeled too ambitious or just simply too much?
Oh, that's a good question. Listen,
Or can it be done? Can it be done?
it can be done. It can be done. They can, advocate for themselves. A lot of times, and this is one of the things I always say, it's one thing to be confident and it's another thing to be cocky. right?
Mm-hmm.
So we just have to know that fine line of how to really advocate for ourselves and really sell ourselves and say, you know what? I have been in the workforce for 25 years, so I do kind of have a bit of an idea. And it's not always how you say it, is what you say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I have that? But it's not what you say, it's how you say it,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So it's not a matter of like being cocky, but it's, you have to be confident in yourself and you have to really sell yourself. So yes, can women advocate for themselves? Definitely.
So, what should women do when less qualified people keep getting promoted around them?
They need to look at how they're showing up. They need to see why, and that's the C. What is the invisible gap, right? Why am I being overlooked? Because everything looks good on paper. On paper you're experienced, on paper you're capable, you're consistent, but you're still overlooked, even though you're qualified. Why am I being overlooked? So that's the first thing. I need to identify what this gap is and why these people are getting, looked at or picked and I'm being overlooked. So that's the first thing, identifying why I'm being overlooked.
Yeah, and I keep hearing, even without you saying it, even though you've used the word a number of times, but it's impact, positioning. It's just an ongoing theme. It's not, and it's interesting because it's not just being in the room, because we used to say a seat at the table in the room, but no. Okay, now you're in the room, you pass the threshold. What are you doing? What are you saying? How are you putting yourself in the forefront, making yourself stand out? Is what I hear you saying. That positioning, and then when you get positioned, how are you articulating your impact? Is what I hear you saying. It's like an ongoing theme through a lot of the ways that you're answering the questions. I love that. And so let's talk about you, Kim, published author and playwright. So, how has storytelling influenced your leadership work?
Oh, storytelling. That's one thing I like to do. I like to tell stories.
I can look at the smile on your face.
I like to tell stories. When I'm teaching my class, I have everybody sitting on the edge of their seat with the stories that I tell, you know, and it does make a big impact because people like to hear stories. People like, to be relatable, it's not just about, when I go in and train, it's just not, this is not so stringent. It's, telling stories so people can relate, you know, I've been in a place where years ago I was laid off. I was on unemployment years ago, right? And these are the same people that I'm teaching today. I'm training today how to get back into the workforce. It's not that you've been laid off or you've been terminated. It's how you recover from that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that I think that's a big impact as well.
Tell us about a vision. Tell us about the vision behind the Lift Women's Conference, which you mentioned earlier to me, which I was very intrigued about it. And why was it important to create that platform? Because based off of what you told me, it just grew. So there was a need for it, definitely. So tell us a little bit about the vision behind it and then why it was important to create that platform.
So someone reached out to me on Facebook. A young lady reached out to me on Facebook. We didn't even know each other. And she said, listen, I guess she was looking through my Facebook page and she was like, listen, I'm thinking about doing this conference. Would you like to come in with me? So I was like, okay, I'll do it. And the name of my talk was Redesign Your Life, right? Hers was Money Management. So we just took the two and we put it together. From there it grew. Now you got to think, Dr. Karen, this was 2016. This was a time, and we live in the Pocono Mountains, right? We're in Pennsylvania. This
Mm-hmm.
is an area where we don't have that, right? This is the mountains. So bringing this to this area, I think that made a big difference. So the vision behind that was to get women to come together and to learn all of these different things. So we had different speakers. We had speakers like Dr. Cheryl Wood. We had so many speakers that came in. We had speakers that came in from California. But our first two, it was just Dr. Rinelli and I. We did it ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
then we were able to expand and bring different speakers in to the Lift conference. And as it grew, it just the vision grew faster than what we thought. because we went from literally 16 women in the room to 200 women.
I love that. And I know the two names that you just mentioned. Dr.
Mhm.
Sherwood is, I've been through every program she had. And I know Dr. Ranelli too.
Yes,
Absolutely. Finance, the money
yes.
lady.
Dr. Ranelli and I, we co-host the Lift conference, and that's the one. She called me up. She said, "Listen, you want to do this?" And I'm like, "Yep, we did it." And we got together, and then we just put it together. And they say, if you build it, they will come. And the women came.
And that is one, if they believe it has value, they will come.
Yes,
So they
yes.
believed it had value. So I love that. You say, I don't teach people how to climb, I teach people how to get pursued. What legacy do you hope that statement leaves for women leaders everywhere?
Ooh, you know what? It's just a heart thing, I guess. You know, you know how people say, you don't chase money, you attract it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
want them to be pursued. I want people to go after them. I don't want them out there, scrambling around looking for different opportunities. If you set yourself up the right way, opportunities will come to you. And that's what I want for these women. I want them to be pursued. Someone else coming in, looking at them and saying, you know what, Dr. Karen, I was on your LinkedIn. I saw you did this, you did this, you did this. I need a speaker. Can you speak? I need someone to come in and to fill this position, this high level position. Can you fill this position? That's what I would love to see over and over and over and over again.
Right. You just, leadership and women are my two loves. So you're speaking my love language, but I'm not going to hold you here a whole lot longer. But I do want to ask you this closing question, and then I want you to tell the community what you got going on, how they can follow you. Just tell them everything.
So,
So,
mm,
what does being seen, heard, and paid mean to you personally? Last year, we had our theme. This year, our theme is purpose led, profit focused. Last year, our theme was being seen more, heard more, paid more. And so, when Kim hears that, what does being seen, heard, and paid mean to you personally?
it means we made it.
We made it.
We did
Mama,
it.
we made it.
We did it. I was able to take everything that, was thrown at me, my star frame, my framework, and all of that I give out to women. We made it. We made it through the door. We made it to the right decision maker. We made it to the right buyer, right? So yes, at the end, it converts into being paid. And I love that, what you said.
Awesome. So tell the Sister Leaders community what you got going on, promote, how they can stay in contact with you, socially, where they can find you, where you hang out. You said LinkedIn, that's my playground. So definitely tell them where, what your name is on LinkedIn, but just share so that they, although you're one of the speakers for the upcoming conference, and so they'll see a lot of you, but just tell them how they can connect with you way before October.
Okay. So I am on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, I come up as Kim Jones Speaking. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook. Everything is Kim Jones Speaking. Right now, I am planning a 3-day virtual event. It's called She Means Business. It's going to be June 16th, 17th, and 18th. That's virtual. I can give you the link for that. We can get that out there. I'm going to have speakers coming in talking about LinkedIn, AI automation, and government contracting. So it's going to
Oh,
be 3 packed days of this information. And then it's also going to be a VIP implementation lab the following week, where people that sign up for the VIP, they're going to get one-on-one, step-by-step live, showing them exactly what they need to do. So that's what I'm working on right now, the She Means Business 3-day virtual experience.
Awesome. And so the link will be attached to this podcast by the time
Yes.
we promote that. And so I love, love, love that. Um, so we're gonna close out, but before we close out, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the conference because my team will probably hit me in the head. I already don't have my background, so I'm already in timeout anyway. So I got to do everything else right because I'm already
Hmm.
starting off wrong. And so the Sister Leaders Conference this year is October 2nd and 3rd. So we are the first week of October. We are excited. We are back at the Rivers Casino. Look, we sold out the 2 previous years. This is the 3rd year at the casino. And if you've been there, it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful high tech casino. And so we're back there. And our theme this year is purpose led, profit focused, because, of course, I believe, and this is Karen, little old me, I ain't nobody for real, but I believe that if you follow your purpose, the profit will come. I believe that if you follow the prophet, it can lead you down some dark paths. And so that's why it is purpose led, purpose first, purpose led, profit focus. And so we're going to have wonderful speakers, just like experts, just like Kim. And so we are excited. Of course, the website is sisterleadersconference.com. And so make sure you continue to stay connected to us so that you can see who's going to be gracing the stage, what their area expertise is. Make sure you follow Kim and her event that's coming up in June, and because this is May and this will be posted in May. So it is her event is coming up in June. And so we are excited. We are excited getting ready for another year for the conference. This will be year 6. Of
Wow.
course, we're going to have powerhouses that hit the stage. Um, but yeah, stay connected because we are ramping up and we're highlighting our speakers, and we'll be highlighting our authors because there's only 2 ways to show yourself as an expert: is speaking and writing, and we cover both ways as part of the Sister Leaders Conference. And so until we bring another brilliant leader to the podcast, we're going to say bye, everyone. Bye bye. So let me